All right, well let's get into it. Before we do so, I just want to clear things up in case anybody doesn't know. I'm going to bring up an image real quick to kind of clear up where kind of like the universe lies. And I want to give a huge shout out to Adam Lovick from Heroes Reforged. I follow this dude. I've been following him for years. He puts out the best graphics, and he put out this graphic of the DC universe that is going to help us so much tonight. So here's a look at what is coming for the DC universe. And let's break it down like this. So everything on top is currently was what coming out this year. And James Gunn said, he came out and said, The Flash is rebooting everything. It is a reboot. We don't know what that means for something like Blue Beetle or Aquaman. Obviously, there's a huge possibility that they can continue on. Obviously, same thing for The Flash. Same thing for Shazam. But we don't know what is happening after The Flash. All we know is that it's going to reboot everything. And then down below, outside of the DCU, the gods and monsters of Chapter 1, everything that is not included in that is considered DC Elseworlds. That is the 2 Joker films. That is the 2 Batman movies, Teen Titans Go, and Superman and Lois on the CW. That is all the rest of the DC projects that are currently in production or out there working right now. It is DC Elseworlds.
I love that name for those, by the way.
Yes, it's perfect. It's a comic throwback. It's perfect. And just to say, it's official. The title for the Batman sequel is The Batman Part 2. That was one of the announcements, but that is a quick cover. Nothing really to talk about there.
One question, sorry, since you're here. Was that logo that's there, is that an official one or someone?
No, these are all logos that were pulled by Adam.
I was just going to ask the same.
Nothing are official.
Is there a Batman Part 2 logo or any art at all?
Well, no, he's just taking the original and changing the color.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. And he's probably changing the color to make it look like Mr. Freeze.
Yes, that's why
that's what I was going to say. If that's the color, then that's definitely what they're going for.
So, and I will also add that for the moment, at least the first 3 properties in the Gods and Monsters section are the order that they will be released. So the first project we're going to be getting is the animated series Creature Commandos, followed by Waller, which we'll get to, and then the first film will be Superman Legacy. And we'll get to all that here in just a second. But we're going to start with Superman Legacy because that is the first one on my list here in the article. And just a little cover up real quick of it. It's going to be released on July 11th, 2025. So 2 years from this July. And it will mark the start of the DCU. It will not be an origin story. And this is quoted from the article. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned. Gunn is obviously writing the project that was announced early on, but it was said that Peter Safran is hoping and trying to get him to possibly direct it. So James Gunn could possibly direct it after finishing writing the film. Nothing else was really announced. Obviously, we have a title here. James Gunn did say Superman is for everyone. That's a 4-quadrant film that should speak to everyone in the world.
What does that mean, a 4-quadrant film?
Like quadrants of the earth, like everybody.
Got it.
I will just say this off the bat. So look, I think obviously when this Superman movie was announced a couple months back that James Gunn was writing it, my first reaction was they're going to try to go back to classic soups, but put a little bit of a different spin on it. And I think the title very much calls that. Like Superman Legacy is a very classic, original, old school title, right? Legacy of the character, kind of looking back at what this character means. And it leads me to believe that we might get an original villain for Superman. I just have high hopes for someone like Brainiac, who is what I've been wanting to see for so long.
When original, you mean like completely original? Or you mean somebody we haven't seen yet?
Like a Lex Luthor type is what I mean.
Oh, okay.
I mean like a Lex Luthor or a classic Superman villain. I could be completely wrong, but that's just what Legacy kind of falls in line for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this film is... I'm not afraid to say now that this movie is going to be good to great because it is so important for them. Like it is so important for them to not just start the universe off good, but to bring us a Superman that we've been wanting for 10 years, right? Henry Cavill is not going to be Superman, so you have to sway people over. Like it has to be good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same conversation we had with the Batman, right? Like it has to be good. But I like everything that's said about it. I like the way that they're going about it. A summer 2025 release date means that they're going to be getting going very soon. I like it. I mean, it sounds great, and it's not an origin film, which we don't need to see anymore. We don't need that. They're going to jump right into Clark Kent, but he's going to be a little bit of a younger version. I'm all for it right now. I really am, and I would not mind Gunn directing it either.
I think my biggest question going into this movie is the age of Superman. That is my biggest question in the sense of curiosity, mostly. I'm curious where because I mean that's technically gonna be a lot. Like you're gonna if they're starting young, clearly they're gonna build into it. Like if he's like, I'm just using as an example, I don't think he will. If he was starting in high school, it's gonna take a while to get to something more. I don't think he's going to start in high school. I think he'll be probably maybe early to mid 20s.
Well, so once Superman becomes an adult, like his aging slows. So like it kind of doesn't matter what his age is.
I see it as
I meant it as more maturity because like
I see.
Yeah.
Brian, I think we're going to pick up within the first year or two of him being at the Daily Planet. Like let's say out of college, 24, 25, 26, year or two into the Daily Planet. He's a reporter and he's just been Superman. Like, let's say, like the Batman was year 2 of Robert Pattinson's Batman. Mm-hmm. Let's put it as year 2 of Superman. That's kind of what I see.
That's fair.
As like an official Superman. Like he's been doing things for a couple years, but he's been like out about doing his thing as Superman for a couple years.
Yeah. So, I mean, that honestly, am I bummed Henry Cavill's not coming back? Sure. He was great. Love the guy. I mean, he was the embodiment of Superman. But if I want to see good stuff, I need to move on from that and let a new thing flourish. Because, I mean, I'm not going to enjoy it if I'm holding on to that one grudge. Okay? Because they might put out the most amazing thing. But if I'm going to be negative and focus on that one thing, then I'm setting myself up for failure. So I'm very optimistic about it. I think honestly, I'm just kind of leaving it blank in my mind. I don't know if I go the same route as you, Jake, in the sense of thinking like someone like Brainiac is going to show up. Like, I think Brainiac to me is like when I think of him as like a pretty big one that you would save. But then again, Superman's villains are a lot of them are pretty big in general.
The only reason I say that is because he's one of the few that haven't been used.
Exactly.
That is, yeah. That, I mean, again,
I don't want to see the same old stuff. Like we didn't want to see Joker, right? For Robert Pattinson's Batman.
I think it might be a Brainiac. I think he's the next one in line, like the next biggest one in line that they haven't used.
I mean,
there's two, Brainiac and Bizarro.
Yeah. I mean,
Bizarro wouldn't be a terrible idea either. Like it would.
Wasn't he in Superman 4 or Superman 3?
Well, he's in the originals.
Yeah.
The originals. Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank.
Brainiac was in Smallville, so was Bizarro.
Oh yeah, true.
I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Is it one of those?
No.
Because those aren't bad options out there. Oh, Metallo.
Thank you. That's who I was thinking.
Metallo. He would be good. He would be good.
Yes, that is exactly who I was thinking.
He would be good.
I could see that being a villain. Because it's not a crazy ironic, I said pick out of all words legacy. Like one of those like Lex Luthor or Brainiac.
Well, and if you wanted to, you can play the whole field of like, ooh, who created Metallo? Lex Luthor created Metallo.
Yeah, sure.
Like you could set that up.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of things, if you want to look into the positive, that could go really well for us. My biggest question is just literally like, where is he going to be in your life? And I think that what you said is pretty much, if I had to put money on a bet down, that's probably exactly what it is. Kind of like you said, we don't need the origin. You and I were talking about it yesterday. we get the origin of Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Like, we got it. Like, we've beaten that
We
one.
don't ever have to see it again.
Exactly.
Honestly.
So,
we don't need to see that much death.
Yeah. So I think starting in the vein of like Batman, where it's like we kind of already got the go ahead, I think it'd be a smart move. And I think it'd be kind of cool because it would definitely be different than what we've seen before. So, and we didn't get that much Clark Kent in the last iteration. So it'd be kind
We
of
barely
cool
got him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it'd be kind of a cool way to start it.
Jacob, before I get to you to answer Gordon's question real quick, do you think they might try to do a Doomsday right? I 100% agree, but it won't be for a number of years.
Yeah, not for a while.
Doomsday is a terrifying villain, but he's almost a global scale villain. Like, he's gigantic.
Yeah.
That's a build up piece right there. So
Yeah.
eventually,
And
possibly.
They need to do him the original storyline where they kept killing him and he came back, and every time they did it, he got stronger. They need to do that. Like,
he's not a creation from Earth. He's Kryptonian. Like, that's where he comes from. So,
because that's
anyway,
terrifying.
Jacob, thoughts on?
That's why I think Metallo would be a dope kind of like. I mean, I love that idea that you just thought of Lex Luthor just being the one that makes him, and
why not?
Like, I love that idea. So,
Jacob, just thoughts on Superman here?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know much about it, right? He kind of just said, "Hey, I'm making Superman Legacy." That's it.
Didn't you say he's like halfway through it too, or something like that?
Yeah. They'll probably start filming, I would say, next spring.
We know they want
this fall
relatively young actors to play these roles, not only because they've kind of we've heard the stories, right, of like Dave Bautista being told he's too old or whatever, right? So we know they're going for a younger cast in general, especially so these actors can play these characters for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it's a smart business move. So I don't mind that. If you think when you guys were talking about where Superman's at in his life, they're very different characters. But think of Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. Maybe this Superman has that much experience being Superman at this point. And look, he was working for the Daily Bugle and Spider-Man, Daily Planet. So he can kind of be in that sense where he's not too experienced. But again, we don't need to see him fight Zod for the first time again. Like, we've seen it several times. We don't need to see. I love Zod. He's my favorite Superman villain, but we don't need to see it again.
We don't need Zod and Lex Luthor for like 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah, let's do something new and fresh. I mean, I didn't joke about it, but I threw around the idea of like, I don't think she could take him on by herself, but someone like a Zatanna or somebody who has a magical ability, because we know one of Superman's weaknesses is magic. So if you have a character, I mean, there's probably magical characters that I don't even know of that someone who knows a lot about DC can tell me about. Maybe Zatanna works with them and then switches sides or something. You could have a situation like that. Just they got to do something fresh,
or send Zod after Supergirl instead of it always just being Superman.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, they got to do something fresh. And yes, okay, they already said, justice in the American way, all that stuff. I don't mind having a Superman who's like that, but then like the world just keeps kicking him down, and like they keep showing him like, no, like sometimes you have to fight dirty, like whatever, that's cool to have, but it can't just be like happy-go-lucky all the time Superman, right? So I just hope it's like they don't try to, feed to that audience too much. But I'm cool to have just an optimistic character, because Henry Cavill Superman was he wasn't necessarily like that, which I loved, but not everybody did. So I'm cool with like a super upbeat, optimistic Superman who through his experiences just realized he doesn't always have to be like that or act that way. And maybe this is the movie where he learns that, where sometimes it's a flaw to be like that. So I could see something like that. But yeah, Superman, look, he's not only the biggest superhero in DC, he's the biggest superhero, period. And he needs to be treated with respect. And I'm still confused. Like, why do we have actors and projects from the previous regime, and why do other stuff come out before this? But I'm all down for the Superman movie.
The continuity is a little confusing right now, but I think they're saving that for everything that they don't want to say anything until after the movies come out, Because if they say, "Oh, these movies don't matter," people aren't going to go watch them.
Then they tip
So
exactly.
They got to say that a little bit.
I will say in that with that, I'm not looking too far into like what's coming where, because like James Gunn's not stupid in the point where he's not going to make the same mistake that's being constantly made. Like clearly they had to make a plan and not just throw shit to the wall and hope it sticks. So